I'd like you to meet Harvey.
Hello, my name is Harvey. I was the subject of a 1944 play and a 1950 film that share my name. I'm a Pooka, and I was Elwood P. Dowd's lover.
A Pooka? Is that something new?
P-O-O-K-A. Pooka.
A Pooka is mostly known to humans only in myth. We're a fairy tale race of invisible shapeshifters from northwestern Europe. We're known for getting into trouble and giving out advice. The Shakespeare character Puck from Midsummer Night's Dream was partly inspired by Pooka stories.
A fairy spirit in animal form, always very large. A benign but mischievous creature, very fond of rum pots.
I'm used to not being seen. It's in our nature to stay invisible to anyone we don't trust, and Pooka don't find humans to be very trustworthy. It's a defense mechanism. Humans tend to be violent towards things they don't understand. Elwood had a way of keeping people from seeing his true self, too. It was dangerous for people like him in those days. We also have powers over time and space. I usually only do this to make parties last longer. If you ever find yourself surrounded by friends losing track of time, but it never quite gets to be too late to go home, maybe at a party or a bar, you're probably in the presence of a Pooka.
Did I tell you he could stop clocks?
The Pooka appears here and there, now and then, to this one and that one.
I'd like you to meet Harvey. I then introduced Harvey to the doctor. I introduced them to Harvey. And now I'd like both of you to meet a very dear friend of mine.
He would always introduce me. Elwood was so kind like that. Even though he knew most people couldn't see me, he was always fussing with my tie and jacket collar. He wanted me to look my best, just in case I felt safe enough to show myself. Always the gentleman, he would open doors for me. He would read Jane Austen novels to me.
Chapter 1.
He was so bright and happy in those days. I told him I would do anything.
Mr. Dowd, I would do anything for you.
We first met at night outside the bars. He was helping one of his acquaintances into a cab. I had heard about him by reputation. Elwood has this intense charisma about him that brings people together.
Well, anyway, I was walking down along the street, and I heard this voice saying, "Good evening, Mr. Dowd." Well, I turned around, and here was this big 6-foot rabbit leaning up against a lamppost.
What is it you do, Mr. Dowd?
Well, Harvey and I sit in the bars, have a drink or two, play the jukebox. Harvey and I would warm ourselves in all these golden moments. Yes, Harvey has several very interesting facets. I don't mind if I do. That'd warm us up, wouldn't it? No, Charlie's be fine. Just fine.
I see. Is he married? No, Elwood never married. He always stayed with Mother.
Elwood was a bit of a mama's boy. He lived with his mother until she died and inherited her entire estate. That's when he asked me to move in with him. He lit up and became quite a shining beacon of joy in those years. He would treat me to movies. We would go on trips together. People were always so confused when he bought 2 tickets but saw just one man standing there. It was like a joke between us, and we got to laugh at the bewildered folk who either saw thin air or a very tall rabbit.
Harvey lives at our house. Elwood buys theater tickets and railroad tickets for both of them.
He, of course, took excellent care of his family and invited his divorced sister and niece to live with us. So, pun intended, we wanted to be transparent with Veta and Myrtle. So I revealed myself to Veta. She didn't take it well, I'm afraid.
Every once in a while, I see this big white rabbit myself.
Not everyone is ready to share a bathroom with a very tall rabbit who is usually invisible. His sister Veta sort of got used to me. She understood Elwood was a little different, and she just tried to use the only tools society gave her. She would come around after realizing that medical intervention would alter Elwood's personality. Myrtle could never accept me. She really disliked us together. Myrtle was younger and was taught some rather judgmental ways. It upset their social standing in high society. People back then were fed propaganda that painted friends like Elwood as blanket offenders, prowling bathrooms and corrupting youth.
One never knows when the homosexual is about. He may appear normal.
If all the homosexuals were to leave their jobs simultaneously, the economy of the country would be thrown into something like chaos.
I've been around for a few hundred years, and let me tell you, the easiest way to corrupt your youth is to only give them one way of acceptable living. Elwood really did get a painting commissioned of him and I together and put it on the mantelpiece where his mother's portrait once stood. The scene in the movie and play was an hilarious dramatization, but pretty much captured Veta's reaction when she first saw it.
That picture over the mantle.
That portrait of my mother, Doctor, happens to be the pride of this house.
Miss Kelly, these are for you.
Why, thank you, Mr. Dowd.
Pleasure, my dear. You know, Doctor, after what happened this afternoon, these flowers really should be from you. But I just promised this gentleman he could give me a manicure.
Being the way Elwood was, you know, non-traditional, could get him arrested. His sister tried to get him interred at a mental hospital, which was considered the more humane option than prison. But those places would torture people into lying about themselves. Shock therapy, hormone replacements, forced sterilization were just some of the violent erasures people like Elwood had to go through. Not to mention, you could lose your job, your bank account, your house, and forever be labeled a sex offender for the crime of loving someone consensually.
And one of those doctors came upstairs and asked me a lot of questions, all about sex urges and all that filthy stuff. Is that all those doctors do in places like that? Think about sex?
Throughout much of the 20th century, gay men and women were involuntarily committed to psychiatric facilities by their families in hopes of getting the gay out.
They used drugs, they put people into comas to alter their minds. They used electroconvulsive shock treatment.
Basically, this involved showing the gay man pictures of nude males and shocking him with a strong electric current.
Lobotomy was another brutal procedure.
I recommend formula number 977. Now, that's a powerful serum which will shock him back to reality.
Nothing will do that. Lock him up.
If this shock formula brings people back to reality, that's where we want Elwood.
Yes, if he won't see the rabbit anymore, give it to him. Then when Harvey comes to the door, I'll deal with him.
The homosexual acts between consenting adults is illegal in every state, in all 50 states, with the one exception of Illinois. The penal codes have sometimes required up to 10, 20, and even a possible life sentence. I believe there is one state still in the United States where you can get a life sentence for a homosexual act.
I think it's because I was invisible that we managed to stay together for so long before someone said something. We didn't have words back in those days, not like the kids do now. Elwood would call me his roommate or best friend, and only the most polite people would even acknowledge me.
But Harvey's not only a Pooka, he's also my best friend. Aunt Ethel, I can see that you're disturbed about Harvey. Now, please don't be. I'm coming, Harvey. I introduced them to Harvey, and he's bigger and grander than anything they offer me.
Most of the time, they acted like I didn't exist and then excused themselves out of the conversation. Mostly I stayed out of the way and just wanted to support Elwood. Gay people had bars and the like, but Elwood preferred his usual haunts. Besides, those bars were usually run by mobsters and were often targeted by police raids. Elwood had this place he loved to go to downtown, Charlie's. Charlie was low-key and was happy to serve both martinis without a lot of questions. He was more than happy to let Elwood sit at the bar, chatting up anyone who would listen. They usually bought more drinks when Elwood got talking to them. Hell, sometimes even I got into the party so much I'd slip and someone would see me. Usually they were too drunk to remember or think it was a dream or hallucination. I didn't want to be invisible. I wanted Elwood's family to see me, to know the joy that me and Elwood bring to each other's life. Marriage wasn't an option back then. We didn't have big protests or parades either.
Movie fans turn out in droves to see the premiere of Harvey. It would not be complete without Mary Chase, author of the wonderful comedy.
Thank you so much, and if you're seeing rabbits, I am too.
Here's hoping we'll all see Harvey.
I wish they had asked me to pose for photos. There were some promotional photographs with rabbit costumes, but none of them could capture my essence. I was invited to the films, but you'd never know it other than an empty seat reserved for me. I had revealed myself only to James Stewart, the actor who played Elwood, and the film's director. Neither of them expected it. They thought they had been working too hard. Mary Chase was a close friend of mine, and asked to tell our story. Of course the events are dramatized. A B-plot of a romance between a nurse and a doctor was put in. The kids today might exclaim, "No homo." James Stewart did an excellent job at portraying Elwood, though the realities of mental health practices at the time are watered down. Humans have such a short lifespan. It's amazing what they're able to accomplish, but that also means that sometimes they have to relearn lessons every few generations. They sort of do their best for a few decades, trapped by other humans' expectations before they realize they don't have to hold themselves to those expectations. They can forge their own way and let everyone else go about their own business.
Well, I've wrestled with reality for 35 years, Doctor, and I'm happy to state I finally won out over it.
This person that you call Harvey, now who is he? Someone your brother picked up in one of these bars?
Well, thank you, Harvey. I prefer you, too.
Humans are never the same once they see a fae. Their perspective shifts so dramatically, usually for the best. Humans sometimes change too once they see another human experience joy or pain. They realize that someone who is labeled as others actually just like them.
At first, Dr. Chumley seemed a little frightened of Harvey, but that gave way to admiration as the evening wore on. The evening wore on. That's a very nice expression, isn't it?
Fae left the lives of humans because we were scapegoated and othered, so humans just have each other to nitpick. And they have to learn all over again that it's never worth it. I was just about done with humanity too, until I met Elwood. Kids today seem to have an easier time accepting others, letting loose and just trying to be their best versions of themselves, while sour grown-ups are still trying to poison the well and blame others for their own problems. I don't mind going to some of these parties and making a weekend feel like a lifetime. I even blend in sometimes.